If you've spent any time looking at key truck listings, you've seen the letters FR, 4WD, MT, at. They're sitting right there in every single listing. And almost nobody outside Japan tells you what they actually mean, or which combination you should actually be looking for. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what each one means, and more importantly, which one Japanese buyers themselves overwhelmingly choose, and why that choice affects the price. You'll pay months before you even see the truck in person. Let's start with the letters that describe how power gets to the wheels, because this is the part almost everyone gets confused about first. Every two-wheel drive K-truck sends power to the rear wheels. What changes is where the engine sits, and that's what FR, MR, and RR describe. FR means front engine, rear wheel drive. The engine sits up front under the cab, and power travels back to the rear axle. This is the standard layout, found on the two manufacturers that still actually design and build their own key trucks today, Suzuki with the Carry and Daihatsu with the Hijet. And that detail matters more than it sounds like it should. If you've watched our last two videos, you already know that Honda pulled its Acti out of production with a unique midship layout, and Subaru walked away from building its own K-trucks entirely, handing the Sambar name over to a rebadged Daihatsu Hijet. What that leaves you with in 2026 is a key truck market where only two companies actually engineer these vehicles from the ground up. Every other badge you see on a key truck lot, Nissan's NT100, Clipper, Mazda's Scrum truck, Mitsubishi's minicab truck, and yes, the modern Subaru Sambar is mechanically a Suzuki Carry, or a Daihatsu Hijet wearing a different nameplate. Understanding this now will save you from paying a premium for a different truck that's mechanically identical to a cheaper one, sitting right next to it on the same lot. So that's FR the default, the layout every K-truck starts from. Now here's where it gets interesting, because FR isn't actually where most buyers stop. According to Japan's own Key Vehicle Industry Association, which tracks new vehicle sales by drivetrain every month, roughly 3/4 of all new key trucks sold in Japan today are 4WD, not the two-wheel drive FR layout, but a version with power sent to all four wheels. And this isn't a one-off statistic. Japan's Automobile Manufacturers Association runs a separate biennial survey, asking key truck owners nationwide what they actually drive. And both data sets tell the same story, even counting the entire fleet on the road today. Not just new sales, close to 2/3 are 4WD, and that share keeps climbing. Think about that. This is a vehicle that on paper spends a huge amount of its working life on paved roads. Farm access roads, yes, but also regular streets, delivery routes, job sites with concrete driveways. And still, the overwhelming majority of buyers pay extra for a drivetrain that sends power to all four corners. But here's a caveat I can speak to directly from running my own used car lot. National statistics are national averages, and averages hide regional variation. At my own shop, most customers actually ask for 2WD and automatic because they're just loading tools and driving on paved city streets, never touching a field or snow. For that kind of light use, 2WD automatic is simply the easier choice. My guess is the national 4WD numbers are pulled up hard by farmers and buyers in snow-heavy regions, where 4WD is closer to a necessity than a preference. City dealers like me see a very different mix. Two honest dealers in two different parts of Japan could give you two different typical answers, and both would be true for where they are. Why do farmers and snow country buyers specifically lean toward 4WD? Two reasons, and they both come down to how those particular trucks actually get used. First, traction under load. A key truck's entire purpose is hauling weight in the back. On a 2WD truck, when that bed is loaded, the extra weight sits behind the rear axle and actually helps push the drive wheels into the road. But the moment the bed is empty or the ground turns to mud, gravel, or a rain-soaked field, a 2WD truck can struggle to find grip. A 4WD truck simply doesn't have that problem, loaded or empty, dry or wet. Second, and this one surprises people, resale value. In Japan's own domestic market, a 4WD key truck holds its value better than an otherwise identical 2WD one, even among buyers who will never once take it off pavement. If you're ever comparing two used K-trucks with the same mileage and the same year, and one is 4WD, expect to pay more for it, and expect it to be worth more when you eventually sell it too. This matters just as much on the import side as it does here in Japan. Now here's a detail almost nobody outside Japan knows, and it's part of why K-trucks have this reputation for being nearly indestructible. Take a look underneath a Suzuki Carry or a Daihatsu Hijet, and you'll find a rigid rear axle on leaf springs, a design that hasn't fundamentally changed. In over 100 years of automotive engineering, it's about as mechanically simple as suspension gets, and leaf springs handle. Heavy, repeated loading better than almost any other design. For a vehicle whose entire job is carrying weight in the back, day after day, that kind of simple, overbuilt durability isn't a compromise. It's the correct engineering choice. There's a trade-off, though, with nothing in the bed. That same rigid rear axle can make the empty truck ride noticeably stiffer, even bouncy over rough pavement. It's not a flaw, it's just what happens when a suspension, tuned for weight, is tested completely empty. Once there's cargo back there, the ride settles right down. And current generation Kei trucks push this durability even further. Both the modern Suzuki Carry and Daihatsu Hijet sit at 160 millimeters of ground clearance, genuinely in the same range as a compact SUV. Combine that with the leaf spring rear end, and you get a vehicle that shrugs off potholes and unpaved farm roads that would beat up a regular passenger car within a year. Now let's talk about the other pair of letters, MT and AT. This is where a lot of first-time importers get caught off guard. Because in most of the world, automatic is the default and manual is the exception. In Japan's K-truck market, it's the exact opposite, even today. That same nationwide ownership survey found automatic transmissions have been slowly gaining ground, up to roughly a third now, and climbing. But manual still holds a clear majority at around 2/3. In passenger cars, that ratio is close to completely flipped. K-trucks are one of the last corners of Japan's auto market, where manual isn't a niche preference. It's still the default buyers actually choose. Part of the reason is practical on unpaved ground, gravel, or a muddy field. A manual transmission lets the driver hold a lower gear, deliberately, giving far more control than letting an automatic hunt between gears on its own. If you're navigating a rutted farm road with a full load in the back, that kind of direct control matters. But there's also a straightforward financial reason. Even on Suzuki's entry-level carry grade, the KC historically, the cheapest new Kei truck, sold in Japan, automatic is available today, but it costs more than the manual version of the same grade. Daihatsu's Hijet tells a similar story. For a business buying a fleet of these trucks, or a farmer who just needs a reliable, no-frills work vehicle, that price difference adds up fast. A big part of why manual has stayed dominant here. In a way it hasn't anywhere else in Japan's car market. If you asked me which combination my own customers want most, honestly, it's 2WD and automatic most of my customers. Haul tools around town, not fields or snow. But that's exactly why the national 4WD and manual numbers matter for importers. They describe Japan as a whole, including the farmers and snow country buyers who skew that average. And even here, a 4WD manual truck never sits long, it's still the combination. The wider market pays more for, so if you're comparing two Kei trucks side by side, same year, same mileage, maybe even the same manufacturer, and one is FR with an automatic, and the other is 4WD with a manual, you're not just choosing a feeling or a preference. You're choosing between the version Japan's own market treats as a budget-friendly, pavement-only option, and the version Japanese buyers themselves overwhelmingly vote for with their own money. That's often the single biggest factor in what a Kei truck is actually worth. Next time you see those four letters, FR, 4WD, MT, you'll know exactly what they're telling you and exactly which combination Japan's own market has already decided is worth paying more for. And once you've settled on the right grade, there's still one more question that matters. Just as much as that specific truck even legal to register. Where you live? In our next video, we're breaking down exactly that. A state-by-state look at Kei truck import laws across the U.S. and why the same truck that's perfectly street legal in one state can get you turned away at the DMV in another.